Chapter 2 The Flower of Utah. This is not the place to recount the immense trials and hardships the Mormon immigrants endured before reaching their final haven. From the banks of the Mississippi to the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains, they struggled onward with a persistence almost unparalleled in history. Savage tribes, wild beasts, hunger, thirst, fatigue, and disease, every obstacle nature could devise, were overcome with iron determination. Yet the long journey and its accumulated terrors had shaken even the strongest hearts. There was not one among them who did not sink to their knees in heartfelt prayer when they finally saw the broad valley of Utah bathed in sunlight below them. Their leader announced that this was the promised land, and these virgin acres were to be theirs forever. Brigham Young quickly proved to be a skilled administrator as well as a resolute chief. Maps were drawn and plans prepared for a future city. Farms were apportioned and allotted based on each person's standing. Tradesmen were put to their trades, and artisans to their callings. In the town, streets and squares sprang up as if by magic. In the countryside, there was constant draining, planting, and clearing, until the following summer saw the entire region golden with wheat. Everything prospered in this unique settlement. Above all, the great temple they built in the center of the city grew taller and larger every day. From dawn until dusk, the sound of hammers and saws never ceased, a monument built to the one who had led them safely through so many dangers. The two castaways, John Ferrier and the little girl he had adopted as his daughter, stayed with the Mormons until the end of their great pilgrimage. Little Lucy Ferrier traveled comfortably in Elder Stangerson's wagon, which she shared with the elder's 3 wives and his son, a headstrong, assertive boy of 12. With the natural resilience of childhood, Lucy soon recovered from the shock of her mother's death, became a favorite among the women, and adapted to her new life in the moving canvas home. Meanwhile, Ferrier, once he had recovered his strength, distinguished himself as a useful guide and a tireless hunter. He gained the respect of his companions so rapidly that when the journey ended, it was unanimously agreed he should receive a tract of land as large and fertile as any, with the exception of Young himself and the four principal elders, Stangerson, Kemball, Johnston, and Drebber. On the farm he acquired, John Ferrier built a sturdy log house, which grew over the years into a spacious villa. He was a practical man, a sharp businessman, and skilled with his hands. His strong constitution allowed him to work from morning until night, tilling and improving his land. As a result, his farm and everything he owned prospered immensely. Within 3 years, he was better off than his neighbors. In 6, he was wealthy. In 9, he was rich. And by 12 years, there were fewer than half a dozen men in all of Salt Lake City who could compare to him. From the great inland sea to the distant Wasatch Mountains, no name was better known than that of John Ferrier. There was only one way in which he offended the sensibilities of his fellow citizens. No amount of persuasion could induce him to establish a polygamous household. He never gave a reason for this refusal, but remained inflexible in his decision. Some accused him of being lukewarm in his faith, while others blamed greed or a reluctance to spend money. Still others spoke of an early love affair with a fair-haired girl back on the Atlantic coast. Whatever the reason, Ferrier remained strictly celibate. In every other respect, he conformed to the rules of the settlement and earned a reputation as an upright, orthodox man. Lucy Ferrier grew up in the log house, assisting her father in all his work. The crisp mountain air and the scent of the pine trees were her companions. As the years passed, She grew taller and stronger, her step more graceful and her spirit more vibrant. Many travelers on the high road by Ferrier's farm felt long-forgotten memories stir as they watched her lithe figure moving through the wheat fields, or saw her riding her father's Mustang with the ease of a true child of the West. The bud blossomed into a flower, and by the time her father was the richest farmer in the region, Lucy was as beautiful a specimen of American girlhood as could be found on the entire Pacific slope. It was not her father, however, who first noticed that the child had become a woman. It rarely is. That change is too subtle and gradual to be measured by dates. The maiden herself is often the last to know until a certain tone of voice or the touch of a hand makes her heart race, and she realizes with both pride and fear that a new nature has awakened within her. For Lucy Ferrier, the occasion was dramatic. It was a warm June morning, and the city was as busy as a beehive. Long streams of heavily laden mules were heading west, the gold fever had broken out in California, and the route lay through the city of the saints. Through this chaotic crowd of sheep, cattle, and weary immigrants, Lucy galloped on her horse, her face flushed, and her chestnut hair flowing behind her. She was on an errand for her father, and rode with the fearlessness of youth. At the outskirts of the city, her path was blocked by a massive herd of cattle driven by several wild-looking herdsmen. Impatiently, she tried to push her horse through a gap in the herd, but as she entered, the animals closed in behind her. She found herself trapped in a moving sea of fierce-eyed, long-horned bullocks. Suddenly, one of the creatures collided with her horse, sending it into a panic. The Mustang reared up, prancing wildly. A single slip would have meant a horrific death under the hooves of the terrified animals. As her grip on the reins began to fail and the dust choked her, a strong hand caught her horse's bridle. A man forced a way through the herd and led her to safety. "You're not hurt, I hope?" her rescuer asked respectfully. She looked up at his dark, rugged face and laughed. "I was awfully frightened," she said. "Who would have thought my horse would be so scared of a few cows?" "Thank God you kept your seat," the man said earnestly. He was a tall, fierce-looking young fellow in the rough clothes of a hunter, with a rifle slung over his shoulder. "I believe you are John Ferrier's daughter. I saw you ride down from his house. When you see him, ask him if he remembers the Jefferson Hopes of St. Louis. My father and he were very close friends." "Why don't you come and ask him yourself?" she suggested shyly. The young man's eyes sparked with pleasure. "I will," he said. "We've been in the mountains for 2 months and aren't exactly in visiting condition, but he'll have to take us as we are." "He has a lot to thank you for, and so do I," she replied. "He's very fond of me." "So would I be," the companion muttered, though Lucy just laughed. "I mean, of course you're a friend now. You must come and see us. Goodbye." She darted away in a cloud of dust. Young Jefferson Hope rode on with his companions, but he was unusually silent. He had been prospecting for silver in the mountains, but this chance encounter had changed everything. The sight of the frank, beautiful girl had stirred his heart to its depths. He realized a crisis had come in his life. Silver mines no longer seemed as important as Lucy Ferrier. His love was not a fleeting whim, but the fierce passion of a man of strong will. He swore to himself that he would not fail to win her. He visited John Ferrier that night and many times after. John, who had been isolated in the valley for 12 years, enjoyed hearing Hope's stories of the outside world, of California, scouting, trapping, and silver exploring. Hope soon became a favorite of the old farmer. Lucy remained silent during these visits, but her blushing cheeks and happy eyes told a different story. One summer evening, Jefferson Hope galloped up to the gate. Lucy met him at the door. "I'm leaving, Lucy," he said, taking her hands. "I won't ask you to come with me now, but will you be ready when I return?" "And when will that be?" she asked, blushing. 2 months at most. I'll come to claim you then, my darling. No one will stand between us. And what about Father? He's given his consent. As long as the mines are successful, I have no fear of that." "Well," she whispered, leaning against his chest, "if you and Father have arranged it, there's nothing more to say." "Thank God," he said hoarsely, kissing her. "It's settled. In 2 months you'll see me again." He tore himself away, mounted his horse, and galloped off without looking back. Lucy stood at the gate, watching until he vanished, the happiest girl in all of Utah.